In this video, I am sharing my honest thoughts on whether you should start a podcast or a YouTube channel and my hot take on why I truly believe, especially if you're a business owner or creator looking to sell your own paid offers, that most of you should be starting a YouTube channel. And we're going to talk about that and why exactly I believe that. So, there are two different ways that podcasts and YouTube channels are similar, and that is that they are long form content, right? So, they are a way to go deeper with your audience, and which leads me to the second point, which is that it is a way that you are able to connect more deeply with the audience that you have. And really, because they're both ways that you can sit down and talk and flesh out your thoughts and really just like connect with them on a deeper level, it is a way to fast track that like, know, and trust factor for people who find you, right? So whether they're finding you for the first time or just to nurture the audience you already have, both a podcast and a YouTube channel can do both, right? So podcasting, whenever I think, and again, big disclaimer here, like there are nuances and exceptions to everything that I'm talking about here, right? It's not totally cut and dry. There are exceptions to these rules, but these are just in general. Like when I am looking at for my own strategy, whenever I am coaching my students, like what am I telling them and what am I advising them and why? And when I think about podcasting, the first thing that comes to mind is that a podcast is a really great way to nurture the audience you already have. Okay, so let me say that again. A podcast is a great way to nurture the audience you already have. And this is why like I love talking about this because so often I see entrepreneurs, business owners, creators start a podcast because they think I need more visibility in my business. I want to take it to the next level. I'm going to start a podcast, right? I would say that podcasting does feel a little bit more attainable in the sense of you're only learning how to record audio content and you don't have to learn the video component as well that comes with YouTube. But when it comes to a podcast in and of itself, podcasting is not an inherently searchable platform, okay? So when you upload a podcast and you are putting it out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the two biggest places where you can share your podcast episodes, those places, like it's not as big of a search engine or even like the way the algorithm works, it's not like pushing your podcast out to new people as continuously as something like the YouTube platform or the Google search platform, right? And yes, like there's things you can do to help your podcast be a little bit more searchable and be a little bit more of a lead generator for you as far as getting that front end visibility for your business. But it's going to require more than just recording a podcast. It's going to require things like a really strategic guest episode strategy where you're constantly reaching out to guests and scheduling guest interviews and having them on your podcast. You're going on other podcasts. It's going to require you to be blogging your podcast and have show notes for your podcast so that you can get found in Google search as well. And so in and of itself, like if we're talking about just the podcast itself, is not inherently super searchable, okay? And not inherently something that you're going to gain easily and not something that's like within the platform itself without having to do anything extra where you're going to get found with new people. And again, I do think in comparison to YouTube, it is a slightly shorter learning curve because you are just learning how to record with just a microphone in front of your face, right? And oftentimes like you can look at your computer screen while you're recording and like look through your notes or your outline or your script, and you're not having to look like at a camera while you're talking, right? Which can be a little bit easier. And so I totally get it. Like it's a little bit more attainable and it's going to be a shorter learning curve than YouTube. But I will say, I think YouTube isn't that much longer of a learning curve. And let's talk about YouTube now and what's unique about YouTube. So what's unique about it is YouTube in and of itself. When you upload a YouTube video to the YouTube platform, you are uploading into the second largest search engine in the entire world, also owned by Google, which is the first largest search engine in the world. So you're uploading into an inherently searchable platform, a platform where people go to search for things, where people want to watch new things, have things be suggested to them, and you are in the potential for visibility and reach within the YouTube platform. It's just absolutely insane. And like I mentioned, yes, there is a bigger learning curve when it comes to learning how to record with a camera and learning how to talk into a camera, right? Without being able to like look directly at your notes. But I personally believe it's a lot simpler than you might think it is. And I talk more about that inside of my free YouTube class. So we'll have a link down below. It's about how to scale your marketing with YouTube. And I touch on the gear and the workflows you actually need to get started. And most of my students and myself included, when I was DIYing every single aspect of my YouTube strategy, is is getting it down to 4 hours a week max. And that's pretty attainable. I would say even now, like if I'm doing it all myself, I can get it down to like 3 hours per week. And that's still a pretty conservative number. Like it might even be less than that some weeks. And if you have a vision too of growing a brand like bigger than yourself, you're wanting to reach more people, you can very easily get that down to like 4 to 5 hours per month because you're able to pass off some of these bigger aspects of YouTube when it comes to your video editing and your video scheduling. And I personally believe, like truly believe so deeply that YouTube is so much less saturated than Instagram, especially when we're thinking about the world of online business and where it's at right now. So many people jump on Instagram, are posting reels all the time, trying to get seen on there. And it's great for short-term growth and for growth where, you do have to be physically present and posting, but YouTube, you don't have to. And it's playing that long game. And I personally believe that that's a game worth playing because it's going to lead to long-term growth for your business and lead to seasons of your business, not if, but when things happen in your personal life, in your business, where you need to take a step back from your marketing, YouTube can continue to work for you in those different seasons. And honestly, one of the major differences that I see between YouTube and a podcast, because again, both nurture your audience, but YouTube, even if a podcast, let's say you're doing all those things, you're doing the show notes, you're doing the guest strategy, like you're using it and it's bringing you new leads into your business. At the end of the day, YouTube is going to work for you even when you're not physically posting your business, even when you're not physically working, even when no team member is physically working in your business. And it is much harder to take a break from podcasting, especially if we're thinking about like, if we're just going to go like not post on the platform for say 6 months, are we going to continue to see growth from that platform, leads from that platform, views from that platform, even when we're not posting anything new and didn't prepare ahead of time to not be posting, right? And so YouTube is really a way to reach a new audience and to do that continuously. And a podcast in general, again, there's nuances and exceptions to this, but in general, when I talk to business owners, it's really nurturing their current audience. It's not something that's going to be a new lead gen strategy. It's going to nurture the people in your audience, which can still be very effective. It can still be very impactful for your brand, but they're two totally different things. And when you go into starting a podcast, a lot of times when I see business owners talk about it, they're so excited because they think it's going to bring them new leads into their business. It's going to bring new visibility. And again, you can do all those things to help bring new visibility with a guest strategy or with blogging. But even with doing those two things, I still think YouTube is a way more effective platform for bringing in new people. And YouTube is something where you can take time off from posting new long form videos and still see a ton of views and traction on the videos you've already created without having to continuously upload new things or prepare for that. For example, when I went on maternity leave last year for my third baby, I took 6 months off from posting long form videos on YouTube, didn't post a single long form video. My channel still gained over 1 million views in 2024. Would that happen with a podcast if I took 6 months off from scheduling or uploading a new single podcast episode? I really don't think so. Okay. I truly believe like if you want to up level your marketing and you want to take it to the next level and you want to see new visibility and you want to bring new leads into your business, especially if you sell like low to mid ticket offers, but even some high ticket, YouTube is the way to go with that. Podcasting is going to nurture the people already in your audience. And there's still, again, I still think that is something that is really important. I think sometimes we neglect and think we always need new people, but sometimes reaching the right people within our audience can be even more effective. But YouTube can do that as well and nurture the audience that you already have while simultaneously reaching new people. And this is going to come from developing a YouTube first strategy. So a question I get a lot is, well, can't I just upload like a video version of my podcast onto YouTube? And I talk more about this in depth in my course in the exact strategy here when it comes to this, but the shorter answer is if you want to see growth on YouTube, you need a YouTube first strategy. You can't repurpose your podcast episodes onto YouTube and expect to see growth on the YouTube platform. And so if you want to do that, go for it. If you want to give your current audience for your podcast a place to see your podcast episodes in video form, that YouTube, you can totally upload them to YouTube, right? I'm not going to tell you you can't do that, but if you're wanting to grow a new audience on YouTube, doing that is not the way to go, and you're going to want to have a YouTube first strategy. With YouTube too, we're talking simple 8 to 12 minute videos. That's what I teach with my strategy for business owners and brands who are wanting to use YouTube for their marketing. We're not talking about 30 to 45 minute episodes episodes here, like you typically would think about with a podcast. We're talking about videos that are typically a lot shorter than that and are very simple to create. And so if you want to learn more about that, go watch my free YouTube class, like I mentioned earlier. That's going to dive deeper into it and talk you through like what that even looks like. And I can also say too, I had this written down in my notes. I went back and looked to see how much time I spend on YouTube versus my podcast, especially more recently as I have been doing more guest interviews on my podcast, and the time it takes me to reach out to guests and schedule their interview and communicate with them and record the interview, and then for my team member to edit it. We easily spend just as much time, if not more time, on the podcast than we do YouTube. And so it's also had me rethinking my podcast strategy more recently, but that's another video for another day. And I personally just am such a huge fan of YouTube for so many reasons. It has absolutely changed my life. And if you want to learn more about like my story and how YouTube has played a part in that, go watch this video. I'm going to put it right over here on this side of the screen, and you can go and watch that video next where I talk a little bit more about me, my story, how I started my business, and then how YouTube has played such a big role in getting to where I am today and building a multiple six-figure business all organically. So excited for you to watch that video. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about here, you know that we're here for you in the comments, and I'll see you guys again in next week's video on Tuesday. Bye guys.